What was it like growing up as a driver?
Well, you got a 6-acre front yard. So, I mean, but we worked, when I was growing up, we worked every night. We were open every night, and you know, I was the little one and I was a lot younger than my brothers, so I didn't get to stay at home, you know, most of the time until I was a teenager. I couldn't just stay at home. Well, when I was a teenager, I was working, so I wasn't at home anyway. But I went to the box office every night. I mean, that's where I stayed. I came down here while Mom and Dad got ready, then I went to the box office. That's where I did all my homework. That's where I played. That's where I did everything. So, you know, it's kind of it's a different environment, but kind of what our boys did too. You know, when you got to go to work, you go to work and kids go with you. And if it's 2 o'clock in the morning when you're finished, you know, they're asleep on a couch or they're still up or whatever. You know, they're someplace. The granddaughter's got a little pallet up there and she'll crash. She's a little over 1. So she crashes up there. If she gets sleepy, she'll be asleep in the box office or down here. But it's just the way you do it.
Let me get you in focus here. And then, how much are our tickets here?
They're $6 for adults, that's 12 and up. Kids 6 to 11 is $2.
Is that lower or higher than average movie ticket price, you think?
It's a lot lower. Okay, good work.
Oh, Mr. Michael. You guys want speaker or you on radio? Where's the change on that? There you go. Thank you, Alice.
Ignore the mess because it's also storage for everything. But I mean, before you would have projected out of the 2 lower ones. So there was a projector here and there was a projector there, and then you watched out. I mean, because you're standing right here to switch over, so you're watching that screen right there. So we kept those holes when we went digital. This room, when you're running, I mean, we ran carbon arc for years, which were carbons that gave us our light, and then we went to a xenon bulb. But especially during carbon arc, this room could get to 100, 105 degrees easy in a night. Now it's supposed to stay at about 68 degrees with that computer equipment here. So we have to make sure that instead of blocking these up, he just sealed them up with plexi because we wanted the windows. And lots of signatures from everybody that's ever run the movie in here, my brothers included. So their names are everywhere in here. So that's why this room never got painted. We couldn't bear to paint over all of the graffiti, I guess. Where
Can you point us out some of the signatures?
Well, I mean, here there's a initials there. They're everywhere. They're just, and I mean, here's, okay, this is film length, 1,800 feet on a reel is going to run about 20 minutes. That's my brother, my younger brother's doodling there for sure. And there's more there. I mean, it's kind of just everywhere. That's the younger brothers too. But this kind of stuff, the makeup table is right here. So this is where you made up the films and put them together.
I miss the film. When you first turn it on and you hear the click of the motors coming on, it's just amazing. How just the sound, how I love it. But we don't have that anymore. But technology is taking over.
Yeah, you were sad to see the film go.
Yeah. I really enjoyed working up the film, putting it all together. But just done it for a long time. It's just different.
You got a new.
That's
Oh, okay.
You're still in there.
No, Carson was getting it. Come here. Did I get nothing?
This is Riley.
Hello.
Hey there.
This is the projector. So you got a $1,500 bulb in there that produces your light. Our server just went out. We've still got some issues with what all's going on here. We've still got some stuff that we've got to redo. But basically we have a server, so the movie comes in on a hard drive. It's downloaded onto the servers. Several terabytes of storage space right there. But the big catch is that it's all encrypted. So you can't run a movie, you can't copy a movie, you can't run a movie without the keys. I download the keys from an email. And that's why there's Well, it's also ads and stuff that we run. There's thumb drives laying everywhere. So basically, we have a computer server and we have a great big projector that all tie together, and you'll notice lots and lots of ventilation and exhaust fans and everything to keep it cool.
How much does this piece of machinery cost?
About $100,000 altogether when we put it in new. We went. You could go now. Keep in mind, we're running a 6,000 watt bulb. We were talking. Our tech guy that came over and changed the server has a theater as well, a hardtop, and he runs, about a 400 to 600 watt bulb, and we run 6,000 to pump that screen, that number one that far, to run that image that far, and ambient light. We can't pull the curtains and darken the skies down, especially when you got full moon or whatever else. But when we put this in, we went with a top of the line Christie projector instead of them. We didn't cut any corners. We went with what we thought at that time was the best drive-in one out there. And there weren't a lot. I mean, drive-ins. There were a few drive-ins that started going we went digital in 2013, and there were some that had gone in 2012. But it was still, you could limp along for another couple years. So there were people that limped for about 2 more years before they actually had to start changing and converting. And like I said, our server just went out about 6 weeks ago. So that's another nice little $8,000 server that went dead and had to be replaced. So, it's always something.
It's been pretty tough. Of course, the digital thing, when everything went digital, that was, of course, we had planned for that. A lot of drive-ins didn't make it through that transition over to digital. But it's kind of like back early in the 80s when the VHS come out. A lot like that.
I think he's getting in your money jar.
Uh-oh. Carson. You're not supposed to do that. She's learning at an early age.
That's what you mean, family business.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
How did you and Kendra meet?
Well, actually, we met as a basketball game. Going to basketball game. She was a cheerleader. I played basketball. And we met on the bus. We sat together on the bus. And we started dating when she was 13. And most of our dates were right here at the drive-in, at the concession. She worked concessions, so I'd just come down, and that's where we spent our time.
How was that, though, going on dates? Because her father was around running the place, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was, it wasn't bad. He gave us our freedom. He didn't just keep a big tight thumb on us, so it wasn't bad.
So you go to Little Rock. Now I do go past Little Rock. I have a lot of Benton, Bryant. I have some Hot Springs regulars that drive that far, but Little Rock-ish, all the way back up Greenbrier, Conway, that area, and then you can circle on back around to Russellville, in that area. Don't pull much from Northwest Arkansas because there's a drive-in in Fayetteville, so I don't pull much from there. I do pull, and this is kind of a new thing, I'm starting to pull a lot of Southern Missouri. Movies are based on percentage, so most of the ticket price at that box office goes back to the theaters, back to the studios. That's why most of your theaters have such high concession prices, because that's where they're making their money. So, people online will say, well, why don't you put this with this? And when I say, well, you can't put that with that because we'd be paying out more than 100%. So, you have to watch percentage and what can you put together. You obviously can't put, for example, we're finishing up with Boss Baby tonight, but putting Boss Baby with Jungle Cruise is not a good option because Boss Baby would almost have to play first and Jungle Cruise is the new release. So you got to watch about what you're putting with something. you'll need to grab her up. She may not like. He's got a granddaughter, but you know, it's just one of those things that you start looking at. It gets very frustrating when, you know, film companies, for example, Black Widow was a 3-week playtime. Well, 3 weeks is hard for us. Now, it's not as hard in the middle of COVID, but if we were non-COVID, it would have been really hard for us to break with Black Widow and play it for 3 weeks because that's almost too long for us. But we put different bottom halves with it and so forth to play it out. So it's just it's a game, and it's a guessing game sometimes. I mean, I do a lot of research. IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, online forums, look and see. Sometimes I poll people on Facebook, which one would you rather see? You know, and then we start looking at what's possible and what you can put together and what we can do.
What is your favorite food?
Oh, I don't know. Pretty Woman would rank high, very high. Sweet Home Alabama would rank really, really high. Corvette Summer, you know, American Graffiti, Smokey and the Bandit is huge. It's always, that's what we're ending with this time because it's always a crowd favorite. There was a little movie, and we actually played it last year, that was filmed here in Arkansas that I remember vividly when I was a kid, called The Bootleggers, Legend of Augie Creek. Heard of Legend of Augie Creek? It was not nearly as good the second time around as it was when I was a kid. Top Gun, you know, your classics, your classic movies. But again, I don't watch a lot of movies, so isn't that awful? That I'm a movie person and I'm not a movie person.
When somebody asks for nachos, we don't put the cheese on them until they show up to get their order, or they'll be soggy. So I just put some in there and put them up, and we stack them over here.
Do you go through a lot of nachos every night?
Yes, nachos is one of the biggest things we go through, and popcorn too.
Did you ever come to this drive-in before you worked here?
Yes, and I always wanted to work here when I was little.
Why is that?
Because it just looks so fun in here, like making everything for people, and it's just a good job here.
Are there any particular memories you have from the drive-in?
A lot of time on the weekends, my family would come here and we'd like play frisbee outside and before the movie started, and it was a lot of fun.
And you're from this town?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do in this town for fun?
Well, there's not really a lot to do, but I go to the river. I like to go to the Buffalo River a lot.
And are you in school?
Mm-hmm. I'll be a junior this year.
And what do you think you want to do when you're done with high school?
I want to go to the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville and maybe do physical therapy.
Why physical therapy?
Well, my mom was the one who told me that I should do it because, I get to help people and I really like helping people.
Not that we've added, really.
I remember a few things that Mom and Dad tried back in the day, but not that we've added. We pretty well stayed pretty set with our menu. We don't change much.
What were some of the things that your folks?
Oh, they've tried some chicken, a fried chicken type deal that was supposed to be. I don't even remember it that well. They tried what were called flips, and you popped them in your popcorn popper. You put them in your popcorn popper, and it was weird. I don't know. I loved them. If you ever tasted a Muncho potato chip, that kind of potato chip, they tasted like that. They were really good, but nobody else liked them. So we pretty well did away with those. But just odds and ends along the way. We added cotton candy, and that's a huge seller. And then we've added the frozen lemonade. I am getting ready to venture into kettle and caramel corn. That popcorn popper will pop those. So hopefully by this weekend I'll have that rolling. So it's just try stuff and see. Never can tell. Couple of kernels.
Are you tired of the smell of popcorn?
No, I don't much like it on my clothes when I get home, but they just melt it. And this we actually take margarine and boil it, pour the whey off, and clarify it. So it's clarified margarine. It's not butter, but it's margarine. And I like that a lot better than I do the other stuff. I want some popcorn.